Greetings, and welcome to day 2 of the 31 Days of Tarot 2019 challenge. And the subject today, the prompt today is the top 5 tarot decks of 2018, and it was described as being either the top decks that you thought, your top picks that came out in 2018 or that you purchased in 2018. Well, you know enough about my background to know that I don't know when decks come out, what new decks are coming out. I have not really kept up with that. So I'm interpreting and saying that it is the top 5 tarot decks that I have purchased in 2018. And trust me, this was one of the first questions that I said, can I even do the challenge? Because I had to look and see, did I really purchase 5 decks in 2018? Oh, yes, I did. I just barely made it. But I do have, the good news is I have 5 tarot decks that I wholeheartedly will recommend to anybody, that I'm so excited that I changed my ways and decided to become a multi-deck tarot deck user, because this is just going to make all the difference in the world to me as a tarot reader, because the decks that I'm going to be talking about today really keep me as a well-rounded reader, I want to say. I think it is very possible. I want to admit that it's still very possible to only have one tarot deck, and that will satisfy your needs if you have a good deck. If you have a really good deck, like the Rider-Waite, I think it's more than possible to only use that deck. But of course, after the experience that I had with a couple of decks in 2017, the end of 2017, the beginning of 2018, I was sold on the idea of having different decks, particularly for different times of the year. Okay, so the decks that I'm going to talk about today are decks that I use. I see a purpose in that far and above what I would be using my Hoi Polloi deck of, and also even the Wildwood Tarot, which, you know, I'm so fond of. It doesn't satisfy all the needs that I'm getting from some of these other decks. The first one I have to say is the Santa Muerte. And if you've been watching my channel, you know I just fell in love with this deck immediately. And I used it all of October for daily readings, for personal daily readings, to help me communicate with the ancestors. That's the highlight of the deck. The images are beautiful. The images are, I don't know if you can see, because I'm using a lot of artificial light here. It's dark here. But all of the images, skeletal images, you know, very reminiscent of the sugar skulls that we see when we have the Dia de los Muertos, you know, celebration. But they're very, very, they're beautiful. They're beautiful cards. They capture all the images that they capture are just, you fall in love with the characters in the deck, the skeletal characters, you really do. This deck, what I like the most about it, other than the images, the little book that comes with it, the little white book, it doesn't have a lot. It's a little thicker than most. But it's really, I don't know how many languages, probably 5 or 6 languages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes, 6 different languages. So the English part is only maybe 50 pages. Maybe 50 pages, something like that. But what I love about it is, even though there's not a lot of description for each card, it has a special message from the dead, advice given from the dead that go with each card, and that's what I really use it for. Of course, I did, you know, connect with it as you know, like I connected with it in the beginning initially, thinking about the Rider-Waite meaning, the meaning that I was used to, but every time went and looked and see what the dead had to offer, to say to me about each one of these, each one of the cards, because
It made for some really great daily spreads. I mean, it really did. It gave a little bit of a twist, to what would typically be a 3-card pull for me a day. That's what I usually do, is 3 cards. Okay. So anyway, I used it in October, like I said, in October of 2018, and I'm going to continue to use it for different things during this year. Okay, the second one. The second deck is something that I love, and you're going to be seeing a little more about this deck this coming year. I haven't really worked with it much, but it is the Druid Craft Tarot. Where's the box? The lid, Druid Craft Tarot. I love the deck. The illustrations are beautiful. They're really, you know, I connect with the, you know, they are very in line with the Rider-Waite. So it's nothing that you know, that's unfamiliar to me. So I didn't really have to learn too many new meanings. Of course, like I said, I really advise all the time to still continue to look in the book that comes with the deck to see what the writer had in mind of the deck. But what I liked were the images. The images, you know, I'm a medieval history buff, and I'm very connected to Scotland and very connected to the Celts, the ancient Celts, and the Druids. And I just love the images in this deck. The one drawback I have to say is the size. You can see how big this is in my hand. I can barely hold it, let alone try to shuffle it. And the other thing is, it's, look at the death card. It's just so glorious. Such a beautiful death card. Which is my card for the year, this year's death. Here's the Hermit card. I can't stop looking at the images. They're haunting me. You know, they're very haunting images of a familiar picture with a little haunting twist to me. It speaks to my soul. Anyway, what I was saying, and instead of the Empress and the Emperor, it has the Lord and the Lady. There's the Lord with his beautiful antlers. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Anyway, what I wanted to say about it is the deck is so big in my hand. It is the first time ever that I really contemplated trimming a deck. And I have seen other people trim it. There's not a lot of border to it. You know, here's the High Priestess. Glorious. You see, there's not a lot of border that's there. But I think trimming it down just a little bit might help. Unfortunately, I really don't want to take off the... I could trim it way down, but I really don't want to take off the title of the card. Because when I'm doing readings for the people, they like to see, you know, they like to see what the card is. They don't want to just go by my... They don't want to just trust me to tell them what the card is. They want to see the actual card. So, I'll let you know if I'm going to trim it or not, what happens. But I do want to say that you're going to be seeing a lot more of this because there's a couple oracle decks that I got to go along with this. So I'm going to show you that in my next video. But this is really a lovely, lovely deck, which I think I'm going to be using a lot. It'll probably have its own playlist. So, okay. The third card, the third deck, is an Italian deck, which I fell in love with. I watched, who did I first see with this deck? I think it was Jessica Starr. When she was showing a flip through of one of her journals, this was one of her cards for the month. And at first, I looked at the card like, you know, some people do, and I think just when she was showing the deck, or somebody had showed the deck a little bit, and I kind of bypassed them pretty much. And I said, look at the backs. The backs of the cards, they're so lovely. It has those little children. I thought it was all children or whatever, and so I thought it was a pretty juvenile deck. And I really wasn't, and there's the card I saw. I thought, oh my goodness, it's a children's deck. And so I really wasn't very taken by the deck. But then when she pulled a card of the month, one of her cards for the month, was this card I have in my hand, and it was the Knight of Swords. And you see this girl, the girl, is flying on an origami bird. Okay, and that's the Five of Swords. And at first I went, Five of Swords? What kind of a Five of Swords is that? I thought, oh, you know, I was a little skeptical. I said, I didn't think I was really going to get much out of this deck at all. And then the first thing that came to me was the, you know, the favorite. Who was the person? I can't remember who the person was who was trying to fly and made wings out of wax. And the closer he got to the sun, the wings melted. And that's what I thought about, was this origami, little origami bird. You know, the Knight of Swords, to me, is always like, has that warning of running with scissors. Be careful that you don't, you know, move too fast and without thinking, do an impulsive, you know, act to try to get somewhere too fast. And this could have been one of these times that she might, you know, you might regret flying on a paper bird close to the sun. Close to the sun, you get the hotter cats and you could burn the thing. So I thought that it just had a little different twist to it. The images are, they're not children. The more you look at them, they're not children, but they're childlike. They're in their innocence, but they are very poignant. They read very poignantly. And I will do, later on, I will do a bit of a walkthrough on this at least. I don't think I'll do a walkthrough, but I'll do add this to another playlist and do some work with the Nicoletta Ciccoli tarot. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to be using this a lot this year. You're going to see a lot of it. But, not yet. Not yet, because right now, I've got 2 more to show. So that's my first 3. And these are not in really any order at all. They're just random. The next one is the Marielle Jarrell. Look at the size of this box. Like, I don't know, this is kind of a crazy, for somebody who doesn't collect tarot decks, I don't really have a space for all these boxes, so I'm going to have to do some reorganizing. But the Marielle, this, I fell in love with the book first. Here's the book that comes with it. It's a book, big book, which has black and white images, and then talking all about the cards. But the thing about the cards is, I mean, it doesn't just offer descriptions. That down there. It does not just offer descriptions. It offers just so much insight into where the image comes from. The images are all painted. They're oil paintings, I believe. She's painted, this woman, Marie White. I think she's a Southern California artist, or she was originally a Southern California artist. I don't think she lives here now, but she, the insight and just some of the things that she talks about for each card, it reminded me a lot about, this is the way I fell in love with the Wildwood Tarot, by reading the book. And I think before I do any work with this deck, I'm going to read this book first, because it really has some wonderful insights. She has some famous quotes from people and things, you know, to explain the cards. The cards are beautiful. They're beautiful. The back's beautiful. Sorry about the glare from the light. And it is gilded. It's my first deck ever to be gilded. But again, it is so huge. Again, how am I going to ever handle this deck? How am I going to handle it? Again, it might be a card deck that has to be trimmed. But the images are just so beautiful. They're so beautiful. Like, you could get lost in them. You could get lost in them. Here's the King of Swords. Very powerful. Some are very powerful. There's some nudity. I won't deny it. So you got to be maybe careful. If I don't know, I need to maybe be careful where I take this deck to read, but it's just a glorious, it's a glorious deck. And it just, each picture, I mean, each image, you know, you could just spend a day looking at the image and getting more from the image. The Lover's card. I love the opposites. Young, old, black, white, male, female. Old, young. It's just, it's very moving, very moving. This also was one exception to my rule. Well, maybe it's not a rule. But in a video long ago, I said, you know, one of the cards that I look to all the time on a deck is the moon card. And I said, my thing is, the moon card needs to have a moon in it. Well, here's the moon card, and it does not have a moon in it. It does not have a moon in it. But it's beautiful, and it's a perfect match, opposite actually, to the sun card. The sun and the moon, if you can see that, they fit together. And perfect, different sides of a face, different color, different light, different lighting. And I thought that was so, I don't know, it's sort of, it gives me a whole new perspective of the moon and the sun. So anyway, I don't want to go on about each deck, I just want to list them, that's why I'm here. You're going to be hearing a lot from me about the Marielle Tarot later on in the year. Be assured of that. Be assured of that. And I want to say, my final one I want to show you is one that I'm working now with every day. Excuse me while I'm going over here and putting these down. I have a big mess here. I am so in love with this next deck. I don't even want to tell you. The first time I saw it, I went, that is the craziest deck I ever saw. It didn't even seem like a tarot deck to me. I mean, I was kind of judgy. I have to admit I was judgy. And then I saw somebody do a flip through or whatever. Then I saw somebody else and I went, the more I saw it, the more I was in love with the cards. And that is the Deviant Moon. You've heard the name before. If you've been on YouTube at all, you've heard people talk about the Deviant Moon. It's been out for quite I don't know, several years. I think it's another Italian deck. I'm not sure. Yeah, it was printed in Italy by U.S. Games. Copyright 2013. Patrick Valenza is the artist. Everybody knows who that is. His art is unbelievable. But the more I see of this deck, the more I cannot even put it down. This deck is the deck in my bullet journal that I'm working with through the month of January. So every day I'm working with a card all day long in January. And I cannot, I'll just show you some of them. The artwork, I apologize if you can't see the light. One of my new things for this year is I'm going to have a new, I'm going to try to address my lighting problem so that people can see this Lovers. Sort of the same feel as we got for the Marielle. But just some of them, I mean, flipping through the cards this fast like this is not giving them justice. It's not serving them justice. That you just, oh, I cannot do a full reading. I cannot wait to do a full reading with this. Look at this. Here's the Three of Cups. And it reminds me of the, who went out to sea in a tub, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Out in a tub. Rub-a-dub-dub, 3 men in a tub. Who do you think they be? The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. I don't know. These are not the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, but it's very cool. Nonetheless, it's very cool. The images. The Hanged Man. They're just incredible. Anyway, the more that I spend with the images every day, I just can't do it. So anyway, I'm not going to do a full reading with this deck until I get through January, because I really want to spend some time with the deck. It's so important to me. The first card that I pulled completely mesmerized me, and that was my yesterday's card on the 1st of January, was the Four of Swords, and it just put me away. You know, the Four of Swords is one of those decks in the Rider-Waite, one of those cards in the Rider-Waite. It's sort of a cool, it's okay, but you know, it just doesn't do much for me. It doesn't have that, and the image is not that big of a deal. You know, go off and take a rest. This woman is taking her rest underground, as you can see. Maybe you cannot. But it talks about her being in a dreaming state. And her dreaming is what is keeping her alive. And I love the little lights at the end of her little tendrils, or a little hair, a little whatever. And it reminds me of, like, she has these little ideas going around. It's her creativity lighting up the end of her hair. And all of the roses in bloom around her. You know, it's keeping her going. The creativity is what's keeping her going. But she has to take, you got to step away from things, take a rest in order to build your creative banks up again. And that's what she's doing. But it talks about dreaming. And in my life, my dreams are very, we've talked before about that. They're very vivid, and it's a very important part of my life. It's my dreams. It's my own personal therapy, I think, in my dreams. So this was yesterday's card. And then today, I got the Eight of Pentacles. And both of these really spoke to me. Because the Eight of Pentacles, I have so many things I want to do. And I have a lot of energy to do them. But my problem is I am a perfectionist. And my perfectionism sometimes slows me down, because I want to take too long and be too perfect on things. And I also sabotage myself by not giving myself enough time to do things perfectly. And then I maybe do something less than perfectly. And then I'm really disappointed in myself. And it's kind of a cycle. So it was important for me to get this, the Four of Swords on the heels, and on the heels of the Four of Swords to get this Eight of Pentacles. So I gotta slow down and think about what it is I really want, and what I can really manage, and what I can really do before jumping in and doing it. And then when I'm ready to do it, if that's what I want to do, pay some close attention. Make sure I get the detail that I wanted. Well, I'm going to have to change my standards a little bit, huh? Anyway, this is my number 5, not that it's number 5 on the list. I just saved it to last because I am going to be, like I said, working with it all month of January. And then you are going to be seeing a lot of it. And it is a perfect deck. I just can't handle all these boxes. I'm going to have to do something about the boxes. It is a perfect deck for shadow work. And because, as you can see, each face, well, not each one, not every one, but most of the faces, many of the faces, now that I'm saying that, I can't even find a face, are drawn in both light and shadow. Again, I find it now that I'm saying that. Well, the one that I was talking about. As you can see, her face is drawn in both light and shadow, or both awake and asleep. However you want to say it. So anyway, it's a perfect deck for doing shadow work. So that's another reason I'm going to be doing it in January. But this deck, trust me, is not going to stay in a box waiting for January every year, because it's really a really great card. I can see me doing a lot of different kind of readings with that card, with this deck. But I'm going to spend some time getting to know all of the decks before I start offering any of them out in my readings. Other than, of course, I've already offered out my Scented Muerte. I've already done that. And also, the Druid Crowd Tarot is just when I just want to be able to get a chance to, if I'm going to trim it or what. Because if I try to put this, especially if I film with my cards on the table, It's good. I mean, you know, I like to add cards to my readings. It's going to take up the whole stupid table. I don't know how I'm going to do it. They're too big. So I need to try to slim them down a little bit. Anyway, that's that for today. Those are my top 5 tarot decks that I purchased in 2018. I hope you enjoyed this little prompt, and I will see you again. I thank you for watching. I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.